glass and steel that promise a melting world all around us. But in the end, what we are left with is, in modernism, the dissolution of architecture into glass and steel, the development of interior design, but it is still the women perched, looking out over what Raynham Banham called the plains of id, caught within the order that the male architects had made for them. Or it is poor Mrs. Farnsworth trying to get some sleep in the house that Mies van der Rohe designed for her, completely transparent and open, which appears to do no more than give her a horrible headache. Yes, there have been a few female architects, including Lina Bo Bardi in her own much more sensual and sensible version of the Glass House, all the way through to the late great Dame Hadid, who passed away much too soon, just about a year ago this month, and who began to propose that we could create a more democratic and more fluid and more open world, finding yourself already still fighting with the notion that the buildings needed to be abstract and empty and representing monuments to power. In the end, what wins is control. Architecture becomes bland and still represents male power, and interiors are filled with excess and controlled by men peering into cameras, making sure that we do nothing wrong. So how do we get out of this? How do we escape from the particular conundrum of the interior floating in this world that men have made? What is our black monolith, our strangeness, our otherness, that allows us to question the interior architecture and this absurd division between men and women? Well, as I said, after I wrote my first book, I went back and I thought about how we might be able to get out of that. And I went back to this treatise that Sebastiano Serlio wrote, in which he talked about the two forms of architecture. There is first real architecture, which is the tragic scene, which is the scene in which we don't live our daily lives, but in which heroes perform great deeds that we admire, sitting in the audience like you are, watching this fool performing on the stage. And at the end is the great axis that leads to the monument, and at the end of the play, the hero dies, because it's a tragedy. It's a place of death. And what lives is some abstract principle that we have learned. But human beings die. Against that is the comic scene. This is the scene of everyday life. This is the scene of people eating, going to sleep, going to the bathroom, fighting, laughing. This is the scene that is a mess, with bits and pieces from all over gathered together into one place. This is a scene that might be fun and enjoyable, but has no meaning, has no lesson, has no import. That's the dichotomy. But, Serlio says, there's a third scene, and that is the satiric scene. It is the scene that takes place someplace not quite in the city, not quite in the country, with the ruins of a past civilization present among the trees, or are they the building blocks of a new world?